when the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Welcome to the best soccer show, the best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. It's the best soccer show. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois. It's the Fubard soccer show at the moment. We try to get all the technology to work correctly. I think we're here, and I think we're live, and I think we're doing a show. Jared, are we doing a show?
This is what we get when we don't have Nick.
This is a
No,
well,
Morgan did nothing wrong. Morgan's handling the phones tonight, but we had
No.
all sorts of little things going on right now just a second ago.
Well, we had a problem last week, and Nick was here, so
That's true.
It's not Nick. It's something else, and there's gremlins in the machine, and that's why. You know what? We're just as good as U.S. Soccer right now. We're about the same level. Us,
Well, at least we're
U.S.
here.
Soccer. What?
At least we're here. At least there's bodies in the room.
Hey, Jared, I was going to say to you that, I'm thinking maybe it's time for me to resign my position with the Best Soccer Show.
Oh.
I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think my work here is done, and I got to consider my family.
Okay.
And I know this is unfortunate timing. It leaves everybody in a difficult spot, and I know you have no plans whatsoever.
I don't know if you know this, but I have to quit too.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Well, this is a disaster.
I mean, I feel really bad. You know why I feel bad? Because it was my job to find the next host.
Well, so I think what's going to have to happen here is that we're going to have to ask Morgan to hire a consulting firm to get the show some people
good luck
rehired.
to all of you.
Yeah,
Good luck to all of you. I got a place in Holland. I gotta scram.
Man, look, I hear Holland's beautiful and they ride their bikes everywhere. It'd be great for you.
I do
Good
like
exercise.
I do want to take part in the bike culture. I've never lived
know,
someplace that
right?
has bike culture.
I know. We grew up in a country that
I have
cares about
lowrider culture.
the car too much.
Which is
Lowrider
fun.
culture. Yes, absolutely. That's fun. All right, we are live. We are here. It is, by the way, for anybody who maybe missed the memo, and I don't think we put out a memo. So again, very much like U.S. Soccer, this is our new night, right?
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like
We're
it.
locking down Thursday. Anything else you have to do on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific?
Oh.
Pacific. Just get rid of it.
We know what I do like about it. How many times do we get counter-programmed against on Sundays?
We got some
late
counter-programs
games and
yes.
stuff like that. Thursday,
Yeah.
I think we're going to be all right.
Look,
Plus,
it's
all
a
the
good-
news seems to drop on Thursdays.
I mean, it's a good thing we weren't live last night because, and there was a game last night at 10 o'clock. So by the time we ended the show, it would already be out of date because of the game. We thought, hey, Thursday's great. The game's on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We're going to spend an hour talking about the game, Jared. Are we going to spend an hour talking about the game?
We'll spend a portion of an hour, but not very much, not as much as we thought we were going to, because there is a revolving door in Chicago.
Right. So I mean, look, you guys are here. You are the committed. You are the, and I mean that in both ways. You are both committed to soccer, and you probably should be in a facility somewhere because of your love of this
Agreed.
insane program. But no Ernie Stewart. He's gone. He's off to PSV Eindhoven. He's gonna ride his bike and eat some cheese.
Well,
I
we
think
have
that's
till
great for him.
February.
February 15th. Yes. And also Brian McBride. He's gone. He finished his work in October and then just hung out for 4 months because U.S. Soccer was like, yeah, don't go anywhere. The question on that one, Jared, and I saw this, I actually heard this from multiple sources. Is it possible that U.S. Soccer asked Brian McBride to say that he was ready to end his time as general manager back in October because that takes us well before the controversy involving Berhalter and Reyna, and both parties get to say, oh, this had nothing to do with that. No problems involved with the investigation or parents exerting
if
pressure.
It's October, October, and with McBride, that's pre-Reyna. That's I don't know that McBride was doing anything necessarily wrong, or you can't hang the Berhalter stuff.
We don't know.
Or maybe he
We don't
wasn't
know.
there to, maybe because he's gone in October, he wasn't there to actually
Well, he wasn't. That's the thing. He wasn't gone in October. His statement simply says, I made a decision in October. But rather than put out a statement and leave in October, I thought, hey, I'll just hang out for a couple months and not take attention away from the team going to the World Cup. And then U.S. Soccer said, hey, why don't you hang out until January? Because, I don't know, we got some stuff we need you to help us transition to. Now Ernie's out, so that obviously complicates things. I mean, it does feel like, and I got this sense when I was on the media call this morning, listening to Cindy Parlow-Cohn and JT Batson talk about this for about 20 minutes, everybody has this feeling that, who, JT Batson? Do you know who that is?
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
well, I didn't until today. I'll say I found out today.
Okay,
I didn't
so
know
you
we had a
learned about
CEO.
it. Yes, we have a CEO, Chief Executive Officer of U.S. Soccer. And the
So
sense
many
I got
titles.
is that everybody on the call was like, yeah, no, this timing is too coincidental. Don't give us this stuff about how this has no connection to anything that just happened with Reyna and Berhalter.
I'm conflicted though, Jason. I'm conflicted because a part of me is like, hell yeah, clean house. This thing was a cluster. The last 2 months have been a freaking cluster at U.S. Soccer. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, crap. Now we've got the equivalent of the airplane inflatable pilot like running the ship over here. Like, I don't know. Are we supposed to think Cindy Parlow-Cohn is running this now on the whole men's side?
Well, there's a whole discussion as to what kind of power Cindy Parlow-Cohn has versus what kind of power JT Batson has. I will say this is just one little nugget from what happened today, and there's actually more things that we should get to involved in all of this drama. But one thing that happened today is that our good friend, Mr. Jonathan Taylor Tannewald, who you might know.
Is that JTT?
Oh. MFPG-13, it's JTT!
In the chat.
From his many appearances on this program, he asked about Ernie Stewart getting an extension, which apparently happened at some point in 2022. He also said, but U.S. Soccer never confirmed this. They never put out a press release. They never said, hey, we just signed Ernie Stewart to an extension. And when the question was posed to Cindy Parlow-Cohn, what about that extension? She said, well, I don't have it in front of me how long we extended him for. And I was like, wait, what? You don't know off the top of your head as president of U.S. Soccer how long Ernie Stewart has been extended for? JTT went back and found out that it was 2026. They had him all the way to 2026. And
Which
he
seems like what you'd want for your sporting director, right? Someone to execute a full generational vision.
Yeah, well, and he obviously at some point last year, 2022, thought to himself, hey, I want to be around. I want to lead this thing. I want to captain this ship all the way to the World Cup in the United States of America. You know, Ernie Stewart's first World Cup was 1994 when he played for the United States, right? In the United States. What a great bookend to his incredible career as part of the U.S. men's national team program. And he decided not more than, 6-8 months after he signed this contract, nah, I'm gone. I'm out of here. I'm headed back over there to the Netherlands.
I can't begrudge a guy getting a job at PSV Eindhoven, one of the top clubs in the Netherlands.
So this is the question.
Land.
This is the question. Did PSV Eindhoven come to him? Did they headhunt him and where they were like, you know what? We want to bring you over. We're going to pay you this much. We're going to give you this job. And he went, you know what? That's better than my current situation. Or did Ernie Stewart have buyer's remorse and go, you know what? I'm not liking this too much. Let me look at what's happening over there in the Netherlands and maybe I can get a gig.
Or did he take a crap in the middle of the living room and decide to move?
Okay. What?
Like rather than clean it up, the mess that he helped make, instead of cleaning up, he just decided to say, I'm going to rent a new place.
Okay, sure. That he torched the place basically,
For the insurance money?
Well, he could have done that. I don't think that's what happened here. So Ernie Stewart, what kind of grade can you even give him? Before we get to the issue of the vacancies and who's next and who the head coach will be, what kind of grade do you give Ernie Stewart?
For his entire cycle of his job?
Yeah.
Honestly, I would give him a B to B minus. Because
Okay.
here's the thing, think of where he started and where he picked up. A missed World Cup, no legacy players really to draw on, having to start a new generation. Whether you like the hire of Berhalter or not, Berhalter executed on qualifying for the World Cup, winning Nations League, winning Gold Cup, making out of the first round.
Right.
All the boxes that Ernie Stewart really was the main boxes he was supposed to tick got ticked. So what holds him back from being outstanding or anything like that is that we didn't go past the second round. We also have a huge coup.
How much do you hold the sporting director responsible for the results on the field, right? That's a difficult question to
Everything
answer.
rolls up, right? There's a pyramid.
No, it does.
And he's above Berhalter, so Berhalter's successes are his successes as well.
And by the way, he is responsible for Berhalter, meaning Berhalter's record sticks to him because he was backing Berhalter's plan. Certainly I saw it phrased this way, that he ceded control, or he allowed Jay Berhalter to involve himself in soccer decisions in the process that led to Greg's hiring. Which, without microphones in the U.S. soccer offices while Jay Berhalter was there, it's hard to know just how much Jay Berhalter influenced the decision. Is it impossible that he was directly involved? No. Is it possible he was kind of tangentially involved and just saying, hey, Ernie, my bro's, he's pretty good. You should hire him. Like,
he's
that's
free.
Probably what he's free. He wasn't.
Oh,
he
yeah,
was actually
the
Columbus Crew head coach. I mean, but then there's also the women's team for Ernie too. Because of the way this shook out, right? Ernie was the general manager of the U.S. men's national team. And then U.S. Soccer, scrambling to figure out how to make everybody happy with the women's national team lawsuit before the CBA was signed, all of that, they went, oh, we kind of got to have that job for the U.S. women too, or it looks like we're, treating the men differently and better and giving them more resources. So let's go hire Kate Markgraf. Okay, well now Ernie Stewart is, he's already making more money. He's already kind of, he's already above Kate in the pecking order. That doesn't look right. Well, we'll just move Ernie up, create a new position for him, and throw somebody in at Kate's level with the U.S. men, which is Brian McBride.
Do you think this is still going to be the organizational pattern as the hires come through?
That's a very good question. And today, I can't. I'm gonna borrow from Taylor Rockwell, who said it on Twitter while this was happening. If you took a shot anytime somebody on this call, Cindy Parlow-Cohn or JT Batson, said the name Sportsology, you would have been dead by the end of the 25-minute press media availability. You would have been on the floor drooling because they referenced Sportsology's involvement in this next part of the process lots and lots and lots of times. They are, and to me, it sounded like basically using Sportsology as a shield, right? Like, and there's a value to an outside organization taking a look at your organization to maybe clean up inefficiencies or figure out where you're messing up because you might be too close to it. You can't see it.
So you're saying like right? Sportsology was the manscape of that presentation? Like, this press conference brought to you by Sportsology.
Yeah, they're the Shopify of U.S. soccer's press availability. But to me, it did feel like we're using Sportsology. If something goes wrong here, Sportsology did that. Or Sportsology is the reason it's taking 8 months, right? And Cindy Parlow-Cohn outlined how they have to bring in Sportsology. They have to continue their review, their post-mortem on the World Cup. They then have to hire a sporting director.
The review of Berhalter's situation, which is another outside
investigation.
Yeah.
Which
I don't know if Sportsology is doing that one. I know they have a outside.
No, that's a law firm. A law firm's doing that. Yeah. Jeff Carlisle reported that that's still at least 2 weeks away from being complete, by the way. So, and look, that's part of why they're not going to move on from Berhalter, because they kind of can't just like throw him out the window without, while they're investigating him. I think that's a bad look and potential lawsuit. So they're keeping open the door on Berhalter, but they're also admitting that, hey, with the way things are going down, we're probably not going to have a head coach until the summer. And I think probably late summer rather than early summer.
It makes sense because when you look around the landscape right now, you're getting the feeling that the U.S. job it ain't that rosy of a job to take for a lot of people when you look at what's going on here. Then you look at the options that are out there right now and thinking, okay, there could be another crop of coaches available come summertime, including which may be one of your top candidates in Jesse Marsh. I think, it's out there. The summer thing makes a lot of sense. It's unfortunate that we have to wait that long, but at this point, when we were coming out right out of it, I was like, get it hired in the first 2 months. Like, I was like, let's move on. Let's set a vision. Let's set a tone. But based off of where we are now, after the complete loss of life at the U.S. soccer soccer house, now I'm feeling a little bit differently about it. Like, take time and let's get this right.
I don't think taking your time is a bad idea, but I do think the optics of it, the way it looks for U.S. soccer and the way that it's going to make the fans feel, is bad news.
I don't think there ends up being a general manager and a technical director. I think there ends up being just a general manager. Just like there was one person before. It was Ernie Stewart.
Sporting director. Get it right. I don't know what the difference
whatever.
is.
I mean, what is the difference? I don't know.
Okay, let's go to the phone lines. We do have phone lines open, 717-727-2378. You get a chance to talk to Morgan before you get on the air, which is a lovely thing. Randall from Florida. Randall, you're on the Best Soccer Show. I do not hear Randall. Okay.
You hear me?
Well,
there
it
you are.
is.
There?
There it is. Randall, go ahead.
Yes. How did it feel strange that we've basically become Game of Thrones, where everybody basically ended up getting backstabbed, and I don't know who's going to survive this. Like,
So who was Ned Stark?
Well, who's Ned Stark? Who's Bran in this situation? Because that's who ends up. He's there at the end. I mean, nobody really wanted him, and we all kind of like, that's what happened here. Bran is the guy.
Oh, it's gonna be Anthony Hudson.
Anthony Hudson is Bran.
The guy no one thinks is going to be the hero.
Did Anthony Hudson get pushed out of a tower? Is that what happened?
He talks weird. I don't know if that's a repercussion of something.
Yeah, Randall, I see your point here, right? Everybody.
Yeah, but you know what? You know the difference between us and Game of Thrones?
What's that?
You can't take your top off in soccer anymore.
Oh, I knew it was going to be something.
God.
You can't. You get a card for it.
Nah, it's true. You do. It's not working. Oh, it's not working. It's going to catch up, and then you're going to have multiple J. Rodius drops as soon as I figure out how to get this to work. So there you go. It's not. Oh, I pushed the wrong button. Yeah, look at that.
New here?
You got to push the right button. Yeah.
So Randall. So what do you want to happen though, man? When you see this, do you want them to get this? What's your timetable that you want to see a coach installed?
crazy part is it might be better to do it during the summer, but I'm also afraid of the fact that they've already picked a guy and they basically just see this whole thing as formality. They wait an extended period of time to blow things over. Then they end up choosing their obligatory choice of their guy, or maybe just wait for things
Who's
to calm
the
down
obligatory
and just
choice?
Randall,
Okay, Randall, let me ask you this question. Who's the Greg Berhalter of 2023, the coach that they could go out and get that's got connections to U.S. Soccer, obviously not a brother in the organization right now, but somebody that is close to U.S. Soccer who everybody's going to kind of go, really? That's what we got? Okay, let's go. Who's that guy?
Peter Hermes.
Well, the best option would probably end up being Jesse Marsh, but that's on the off chance he ends up getting relegated from Leeds, which may not happen given the fact
I really want a U.S. men's national team head coach with the stink of failure all over him, Jared. That's really what I'm hoping for, that we bring in somebody who just reeks of relegation.
At an international level,
relegation
everyone
by
stinks
Jesse
of failure
Marsh.
except for the guy that wins the cup.
I mean, that's not true. I mean, on some level,
So does Berhalter stink of failure?
Berhalter stinks of mediocrity.
Okay.
Mediocrity by Greg Berhalter.
Ooh. A ode to what's it called?
Yeah.
Toilet water?
You get some of that when you buy a new pair of Jordan 1s. A la Greg Berhalter. Yeah, the Greg Berhalter Jordan 1s. There you go. All right, Randall, what else you got?
Personally, the one coach I know isn't coming, but I would love just for the interviews after the games, especially against CONCACAF competition, Jose Mourinho. Just imagine what would happen if he beat Mexico in the Azteca.
I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but it's all because of him. I can tell you already.
I mean, but that's look. If I have my doubts about whether or not that could ever possibly happen. Right? I know Football Americas and Herculez Gomez took a shot at what would happen if Jose Mourinho got the job, and who would benefit and who would suffer in the player pool and all this stuff. I don't even like going down that road because I just think it's ridiculous to even imagine that he's going to step up right now or in the next 6 months. But if we got to beat Mexico at the Azteca in a meaningful match, and there are no qualifiers for 2026, so I don't know when this could possibly happen, I'd take Jose Mourinho and whatever bullshit he brings to the table.
It's fun. I'll say that. I mean, out of all the other names we've talked about and said so far, not one of them is fun. The question is, do you want your team to be fun?
There are like 3 fun managers in the entire world.
Yeah, there's Bielsa, Mourinho,
fun who
and
are
Klopp.
either fun as people or fun as potential disasters and mercurial characters. Yes, Klopp is a fun guy, right? At least sometimes he seems fun. Marcelo Bielsa, because that would be a tire fire.
Mexico apparently has turned
rolling down a hill. Yeah, apparently Bielsa wanted the job. People were ready to hire him, and then a couple of owners were like, "No, we don't want him." Maybe they're smart for that. Maybe that would be a disaster. Who else?
Well, Marino. Those are the three. I mean, I guess you could maybe say something like, I don't know. I'm trying to think.
What's Andres Villas-Boas doing right now? He was managing somewhere.
Miguel
right?
Herrera. You could do Herrera.
Miguel Herrera is apparently up for the Mexico job again, which I think is amazing. Let's bring him
I thought
back.
he got cut too early last time anyway. I don't
But you
think they gave him enough
you
time.
remember why that happened, right?
I just remember they had a bad string of results, I thought.
No, he punched a guy. He punched
punched
a
a
reporter
guy?
After a Gold Cup game
Hell
in
yeah.
Philadelphia.
Hell
He
yeah. That's what I'm
punched a
talking
guy.
about. Fun, right? Do you want fun? This is what fun comes with.
You want a guy who punched a guy? That's what you want? You want a
I don't
fighter?
know. I like Eric
You want a
Cantona.
fighter?
He did some stuff.
I do think that for U.S. soccer, somebody who's a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, like
Even
not
keel?
aggressive. No, not even keel. Berhalter is too even keel.
So what's
Berhalter
more?
is-
You don't want to be as aggressive as Bielsa. What's
I'm not-
what's
hold
3
on,
degrees
first of
from
all,
Bielsa?
I'm not talking playing style. I'm not talking
Oh.
about how their teams play. I'm talking about the individual. I'm talking about the
Oh.
person. I'm talking about how they present themselves.
Mourinho is aggressive.
Because I think somebody who is willing to say some stuff and be out there a little bit and not necessarily pull punches or talk around something or be so kind about the players all the time. Because that's what got Berhalter in trouble. One of the things that got Berhalter in trouble this time, right? Or at the end here with the World Cup. He didn't play Gio Reyna. The press goes, "Why didn't you play Gio Reyna?" He goes, "Gio Reyna had some tightness, and we were keeping him out as a precaution." Gio Reyna says, "Nah, that didn't happen. He just didn't want to play me."
By the way, in hindsight, I actually give Berhalter credit for that because he
Yes.
could have
Yes.
washed
Yes.
the dude right there.
Well, okay, he could have handled it differently in terms of how he phrased it.
I'm fine with he handled that.
But he was trying to protect Gio Reyna with
Whether
all
he
the
wanted it
nonsense
or
that had
not.
happened before, whether Reyna wanted it or not, right? And Reyna didn't go along with it. And then it's a whole thing about whether Reyna was asked.
But then
to
you
lie
don't
about
burn
the
him
injury.
later, though. That's the messed up thing. You don't burn him later.
Yeah, I mean, there was a discussion
Especially
in
if
the
you still want the
besties Slack about whether or not the way Berhalter handled the New York thing was actually burning Reyna, because what he said was, this thing happened, we dealt with it as a team, he apologized. He basically kind of walked it all the way back around from he did something really stupid to everything was good in the end. So you can look at it like I still think Berhalter shouldn't have told the story.
Nah.
I don't think there's an excuse for that. But you
Yeah.
can look at it as Berhalter basically saying, all was all right in the end because the player accepted responsibility and we dealt with it as a team.
Okay.
You don't buy that.
At the end of the day, where I still stand is I'm okay with summer now. It seems like summer's the right place to make this move. The question is, who's going to be the GM? I'm just going to say GM. I'm assuming there's going to be one person. I could be wrong. That's going to tell us a lot about who the coach is going to be, assuming that's the order it happens in. I
What
just
kind of
can't
candidates
see
are we
them
talking about for that?
for
Who is
GM.
that? Yeah.
I think it's going to be American. I can't see it not being American.
Okay, so who is it?
Well, you look around. You look at the executives in America, and there's there's a couple that stand out, but I can't see them leaving for this job. Garth Lagerwey's the best executive in the U.S., but he just took a new deal with Atlanta. You know it was cush. Do you
Yes.
think he's going to leave that job
Yes.
where he gets
No.
to constantly tinker and achieve something for this?
No.
No.
And he's probably making more in Atlanta than he can make with
I
U.S.
mean,
soccer.
where are you going to go? Craig Wable? Like who? What's the executive in the U.S. that?
Okay, so we end up going straight
John
to
Thornton?
GMs in Major League Soccer. John Thornton.
so
Thornton.
young. I don't know.
I don't think I mean, he's done some nice things with LAFC. I suppose he could.
sure.
You could argue it as he would, add to his reputation if he helped U.S. soccer and the U.S. men's team in particular achieve things. But then you.
Dude,
And I
Carlos
don't think
Bocanegra? Gross.
this is not going to happen, right? You said American, and this is maybe why
think
part
so.
of why it wouldn't happen. Ernst Tanner, just follow Ernie with the guy that followed him in Philadelphia, who bettered his job in Philadelphia or built on his job.
I
in
think you
Philadelphia.
could definitely make a case for that, but Ernst Tanner is just so Philadelphia Union that it's hard Think of what they've achieved there under him. Don't you just equate him with that club? Like,
sure, but what does that mean? He couldn't transition what he does, and I do think they're different jobs. Right?
No, they're different jobs. No, I'm just saying, like, I have a hard time not associating. I think that's just his gig for a long time. I just think that's his place he should be.
I saw somebody on Twitter when I was doing my show today. Jared, did you know that I have a radio show? I covered this story today.
I listened to it today a little bit.
Did you? Did you listen to my show? What did you think
I
of
heard your intro from Grumpy Pundits.
WNBC.
Oh, you got to hear the magical Tom Rennie on the radio then for a couple minutes, right? Okay. You don't know who that is.
I know Tommy Smith wasn't he on there?
One of the English blokes, Tom Rennie, who took a shot at, always taking shots at Americans. Something about if Matt Turner plays for Arsenal this weekend, they really don't give a shit about the FA Cup. And I was like, wow, that's, or whatever the Arsenal situation is. I don't know. The thing about Ernst Tanner, the thing about following, I had a line of thought. Now I forget what it was on my radio show.
On your show today, you're talking about
I had somebody send me a message to the SiriusXM FC Twitter account and say that U.S. Soccer should try to convince Darren Eales to come back from England after he just left Atlanta to go to England, because Darren Eales would be the right guy for this. But I don't think that's the job. I think this is a soccer job, right? This is a soccer person in a suit is what this is, right? It has to be.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something along those lines. You know, I've heard a couple of people say Dave Murphy in the. I mean,
well, now I'm saying, look, Theo Epstein. Can we get?
No, do not. Chris Klein, do not even joke about that. I mean, you're wrong. It'd be nice to take him off LA's hands, but I don't know. I just, when I look up and down the executive landscape of the U.S., man, I have a hard time thinking who that right person is. And is it a former player, or should it be someone with a business perspective on it? I don't really know.
A business perspective.
If this had been years ago, I would have thought Jurgen Klinsmann would have been the right type of person for this role. I don't want him back now. I think it's a burnt bridge now. But I think there is something to be said about that level of person who understands the American player but understands the European game as well.
One of the names that's getting thrown about in the chat, not thrown about, somebody mentioned it as a possibility, and I'm curious what you think about the idea of Greg Berhalter going from head coach to general manager.
We're trying to get away from the incestuous nature of U.S. soccer, right?
Is that possible, though?
I think he would have been good as a technical director from the beginning. I think he actually does have a good vision for U.S. soccer. I think he has vision. I'm not going to say he doesn't. I don't know if he can execute it as a coach. I think there's probably better people that can do that. But you can't argue with the fact that he got a generation of players ready for this World Cup. I think he has failed at times in in-game execution and starting lineups, that formational issues. I think there is failures in that. I do think he has the ability to think at that level, but if we're going to start fresh, let's start fresh.
By the way, I think there's some you're confusing things a little bit, which I understand. Your belief is that whatever Sportsology does, whatever U.S. Soccer does, that eventually they're going to chop off the head of the steak and leave just a general manager for the national team rather than have a sporting director. I don't think we know
I think it's
going
to be one person. I think they created the GM position as a byproduct of the fact that Ernie Stewart was already there making more money, as you said, when Kate Margraf was brought in. So they made an extra layer in the pyramid that I don't think they necessarily have to keep in there.
We don't need a sporting
director. We didn't have one forever. Why would we still need one? Tell me the difference between Ernie Stewart and Brian McBride's job. I haven't found one single person that can tell me concretely what those two positions were, how they were different, and how Brian McBride was effective at anything.
I think Brian McBride was probably
Is he one of those guys like, if he's doing his job, you'll never know it?
Well, I think Brian I don't know, but for sure. But I think what Brian McBride was doing
this, actually. I kind of like
more. Hold on. Was more of a direct link between U.S. Soccer and the players and some of the staff with the national team, rather than Ernie, who's probably sitting there reading reports about all sorts of national team reviews.
I know McBride was supposed to be like watching players overseas and interacting with the clubs and stuff like that, but I don't know that any of that stuff was happening. I don't know that any of that's happening.
You don't know,
but both those things? I don't know.
So do we need to have entered into evidence? Here's what Brian McBride did for U.S. Soccer in order to feel good about that job existing, or the other way around? Ernie Stewart, what did he do?
I guess
sat behind a desk all day, just flipping through reports.
Like Jackie's saying right here. What do any of these people do?
Give me Mikey Veras. What? What's happening?
Like Jackie D saying right here in the chat, what do any of these people do? That's how I feel about it. Like,
Okay.
I can't point to what effectively they did.
Okay.
Maybe Brian
So-
McBride is naturally going to be a very, he's a very muted person, personality-wise anyway. He's not going to be out there clamoring what he's doing out there. But,
Okay.
man, I don't get it.
I see a couple of things here that are interesting. So Nathan's saying Greg's dual national recruiting record is sterling. So if that is on Greg's record and not on Brian's record, what was Brian doing? Was Brian assisting in that? Was he following up on Greg's outreach? How does that work? Because
Morgan's passing along a message from JTT where he feels that, here's the definition of it. Stewart was hired to put a buffer between the business side of U.S. soccer and the coaches/GM.
Right. Which
Okay,
is
but
like,
what's
again,
the CEO do then? Like
the CEO is dealing with the commercial rights and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the CEO is making the business of U.S. Soccer run, right? The
So
CEO
why
should
isn't
have
Reyna
no
on the
say.
phone with why isn't Reyna on the phone with McBride? Why is he on the phone with Ernie Stewart? If that's the person in between right there, why is Reyna not? Why is he calling Ernie Stewart?
Because Ernie Stewart's the higher level. Why would you go to the middle band when you can go straight to the top? If you
I
know
don't
the guy at
understand
the
how any of
top.
this stuff works over there, man. They've got. I'm gonna say is they got a PR problem at Soccer House. in
No,
terms of
absolutely.
none of us understand this. Maybe those of you in the media that are there listening to calls that maybe the average person, which I feel
Me and the
I
what,
represent.
you people? Are
You're
you
big
doing
J
you
journalism.
people?
You're
Oh
big
my
J
God.
journalism. I'm little J Jared, and I don't understand what this
You
stuff
said
is.
it. You said it, not me. You said that. You said little J.
Little J,
Little
but my
J.
last name Big D.
Go ahead.
No, I just think they have a problem bridging the gap to the average U.S. soccer fan to understand how U.S. soccer works, and that's at all
why
levels.
do we? Okay, hold on.
On both
do
sides,
we need
men's
to?
and
Do we
women's.
need to know that? Because what's supposed to happen is that these
If they want us
things
to believe,
work. Okay, if they give us the good results, there's no need to worry about it.
did you see how many empty seats were in that stands last night?
Oh,
People
for
don't
sure.
want to go watch. They don't understand this. They don't understand U.S. soccer. They don't support what's happening at U.S. soccer. Has a bad image, bad PR. People don't want to spend
I
the
don't argue
amount
with
of
that.
money
I don't
that
argue
those
with that.
tickets cost, by the way, as well. $300,
Well, that too.
$1,300. There's huge amount
Well,
of ticket
there's
prices
something
up
you
there.
could lay at the feet of the CEO, setting ticket prices. There's no way that doesn't.
Why would that
stop
be
on
CEO
JT
and not
Batson.
Ernie Stewart? He's separating the business side, right?
No, the buffer between the business side, who may
What, we
try
don't
to
have a CFO?
influence the soccer side, and the soccer team, the team that plays the soccer. So you don't want the CEO dictating to the soccer side who the coach is for business reasons, right? You don't want somebody who's not. JT Batson's a soccer guy in the sense that he has a soccer background, but he's not a coach, right? He hasn't been somebody that's been intricately involved in getting players to play a good soccer game. So we don't want him making the decision, right? That's the buffer. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I
mean,
just,
no,
it doesn't change the
to
fact
your
that
point,
there is a PR problem here. With
The
US soccer.
upshot in all of this is that if you are not living up to what the people think the team's potential is, right, and whatever good Greg Berhalter did, they hit the same level that U.S. soccer teams always hit, or men's teams rather, always hit at the World Cup, except for one tournament 20 years ago. So if you only get to that level with this Champions League level caliber talent, well, then nobody's going to give you the credit. Oh, well, it doesn't matter what Ernie and Brian do because clearly it's working. We're doing better than we ever have before. Since that's not happening, and since, again, the seats are empty for a lot of games, ticket prices are too high, the culture is rotten in a number of places, obviously there's an issue with relationships within the organization and the soccer community because moms can call up coaches and call up sporting directors directly and threaten to blackmail them, then yeah, the problem is that everybody looks bad. So it's as Cindy Cohn said for the men's team, it is a clean canvas. What do you paint on that canvas is a question.
It's a good question, and I'm excited to see from one's respect how they're going to solve this problem. I think maybe at the GM level, maybe you bring someone like a Hugo Perez in. Yeah, I think everyone wants Hugo Perez somehow involved in U.S. soccer, but I just
I've heard
don't
his
think
name
he's
come up. Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that he's the right choice for the coach right now, but I
Why?
do think that he has a.
Why?
I just don't think he has enough experience just yet.
So do we need somebody who has experience, or do we need somebody who maybe fits the culture and can bring the team into a better place and maybe has a reputation as
For
being
me
a bridge builder?
personally, I kind of want someone with experience this time around.
Okay.
I think that with Greg Berhalter, that's one thing that you can say he didn't have a lot of.
That's bringing the candidate pool way down. If you're looking for international experience, you know who has international head coaching experience? The guy in charge right now, Jared, has head coaching experience at the international level.
It's New Zealand
And Bahrain. Bahrain. Don't you hate on Bahrain and New
Why don't you
Zealand?
get Thomas Rongen then? We can have bow ties on the sideline finally.
And look, and Hugo Perez does have experience coaching El Salvador. That's not nothing.
But I'm just saying, for the next U.S. coach, is it wrong to want a guy that's done it at the top level at some point?
Who is
it
that?
wrong?
Who's standing around going, you know what I want to do? Take on the American
We've talked
challenge.
about these names, dude. I don't know who's going to take the American challenge, but we've talked about the names that we should consider. Yogi Love. Jose Mourinho, potentially. Now, not the highest level international, but the highest level at the club side. There are people out there that are higher than Hugo Perez.
They are. And I do expect, and I think that this is what we learned today, that Sportsology, probably already working for U.S. Soccer, somebody, and maybe an intern, has a big list of names. Okay, who doesn't have a job in international soccer coaching right now? Oh, Zinedine. They must have gone from Z to A the other way around.
Yeah.
Zinedine Zidane. Let's call his people. Hey, U.S. Soccer has an open position for the head coaching spot. This is going to be a great opportunity to lead this team into the World Cup in 2026. Would Zinedine Zidane be interested? And they went, no.
Yeah, and second on the list was probably Yogi Love because they spelled Yogi with a Y at U.S. Soccer because they're so freaking dumb.
scratch off Zinedine Zidane and go on to the next name. But that obviously is a massive list if Zidane's on it, because if you were talking about the probability of hiring a coach, anybody who knows anything is going to go, well, it's very, very low for Zinedine Zidane. I don't have a problem calling him up and checking, but that kind of says that, we're there's a big pool right now, but it's going to go down dramatically. And
yeah, but that's why you wait for summer too. The pool gets bigger again.
Okay. All right.
Potentially.
That's fine, I suppose. The other news, the knock-on effect from all of this that happened today, late in the day, Claudio Reyna resigned from Austin FC. He resigned.
And here's the mess up thing, and I put this on Twitter today. You know who would have been a great choice for GM of the U.S. Soccer or sporting director 2 months ago? Claudio Reyna would have been a good choice.
I think he would have been a considered choice.
Oh, come on. You are clouded right now. Come on. Is there another executive outside the Garth Lagerwey in MLS that you would have considered for that job?
Yeah, Thorrington. Yeah.
You would put Thorrington above Claudio Reyna for that job?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely I would have. Based on their record with their teams?
The only reason I would not would be because of the bias he would have with his son in the program. I think there's a legitimate concern there.
That is a conflict of interest, right? If you put him in a position of power over the U.S. men's national team, that's a conflict of interest. And we now know.
Well, I also think there's something to be said, and this goes against what I was just saying earlier with Hugo Perez as potentially as the GM or something like that. The GM has to have enough gravitas to manage a coach that we might bring in at a certain level. If you bring in a Jose Mourinho,
for sure.
Like, who are you going to bring in he's going to listen to, that he's going to respond to? That's a tough spot, right?
Jurgen Klinsmann?
Maybe, but those egos, oh, come on.
No, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I mean, I don't think it would be a disaster, but it'd be fun. It'd be a fun disaster. I think that, I'm not saying that Claudio Reyna would have been an unrealistic candidate, barring the conflict of interest over his son's participation with the men's team, but I don't think that if you look at it, line by line, Claudio's record is spectacular with NYCFC in Austin. Now, that's different because he's going out
off the
scouting
field. I would agree with you. On the field,
choosing...
he built the team that won a MLS Cup. He built an Austin team that was competitive year 2. He's not a
built
bad
that team.
executive.
He built the NYCFC team, or things. A lot of things happened after he left that made that team good enough to win an MLS Cup.
What was the year after he left? The year after he left.
Was it a year after he left? I think
Austin's
it was 2
had
years
2
after.
Seasons. Austin's had 2 seasons.
No, but they had a build-up season where
but I think he
Claudio
only left
was in
halfway
charge.
through that.
All right, I think JTT may be the guy we turn to on that. But again, this is outside of the Gio this time thing. There's also the reported history of Claudio Reyna bitching about Gio's playing time in youth national team setups. I mean, good Lord, like.
Well, listen, I said 2 months ago we would have considered. I'm not saying right now we could. 2 months ago we would have, without all this area, all the knowledge we have now. But at the same time, it probably does take a bit of a prick to do this job right.
Do you want to move on from all this nonsense and talk about Serbia 2, USA 1?
Oh, a different kind of nonsense.
Nobody cared about.
I liked it. I enjoyed watching that game.
Look, I'm happy for Brennan Vasquez.
Now, let me tell you why I'm happy to have this game.
Alejandro Zendejas.
How fun was it to watch a whole different group of players?
That is true. You're
with
right.
nothing but
except for
opportunity in front of them.
Yes.
Yeah, these are guys out there. How fun was it to watch the guys play for a place, to play for a consideration? You know, I really, really enjoyed getting to see a completely different 31 flavors of play out there last night. And they looked like individual 31 flavors, by the way.
If it was like 10 or 12 guys in the Julian Gressel mode, I don't mean new citizens. I just mean guys who are like pretty deep into their pro careers and are past the age of 25. I think I would have been much less enthusiastic about this. But as you said, maybe there's something about. I mean, it effectively was watching a U23 team. I mean, for all intents and purposes,
we got to unchain ourselves from the Berhalter hate. We got to unchain ourselves from all of the preconceived notions of the way Berhalter plays.
Behind the back passes.
I think all that stuff is gone. And all you had to care about was individual talent for one night. Because you weren't looking about who could be a cohesive 11. You weren't thinking about what's our best starting lineup. You weren't thinking about any of these things. All you were thinking about is, man, that dude is 19, and look how hard he's trying. Or that dude's 19, man, he'll probably get another chance sometime. He doesn't look ready right now. I enjoyed doing that again for the first time in a very long time.
But do you think that the national team, I mean, this is obviously a tradition, and we're normalized to it, and I admitted that on the radio today, but I heard that I heard a little bit from Eric Winalda, who was on the radio yesterday before the game, saying something like, I don't want any more of this, oh, it's so nice that Paul Arriola is back in this team to set an example for his kid. And I want them to call up in every single situation the best available team to go win a soccer game. Because that's not what Anthony Hudson had. He had an experimental group that was more about, as you said, individual talent and introducing new faces and feeling like it's a fresh start than it was about beating Serbia.
With him. And here's the thing about radio shows when you have two people on them.
Are you going to hate on radio shows?
Well, I mean, we're doing it right here, and we do it sometimes too. Everyone has to take one of the sides. You know, like, do I really believe he believes that necessarily, that we need to try to win against Serbia at all costs?
Eric
Probably
Winalda?
not.
Yes, you should believe it.
I don't.
You should
I think it's good radio, and I think it's a fun point of view to argue, and it's a fun point of view to take. And there's an element of you should always be trying to win. You should always be trying to win. But that's not what this is about right now.
I think Eric, and not to make this about Eric Winalda, but I think Eric is very decidedly in the anti-Berhalter camp, right? He's been vocal about this. He was the one who called out Berhalter on the whole thing with the fake injury to Gio Reyna at the beginning of the tournament. I think he doesn't believe Berhalter's direction was the right one for this team. And I think as a former national team player and an alum of the program, he's looking for some pride. Right, he's looking for that.
I don't necessarily know that Paul Arriola isn't one of the best players that were available in this window. The availability was lacking. There's not a lot of players available right now, and so, and I also don't want to discredit.
Okay, let's just do this in order of service of this thought. If you were calling up the best possible team that's available, because it's not a FIFA window. You have the game on the schedule. You're already doing the January camp thing. Okay, you know what? We want to wash away the bad taste of the end of the World Cup and all that Reyna Berhalter drama.
Swish that Reyna out of your mouth.
Get that Reyna out of your mouth. Get the Reyna out of your mouth. You want to do that? What kind of flavor do you get? How do you get Reyna out of your mouth? Is it a mint situation? Is it more of a? What do you think here? It's a good flavor.
How do you get a Reyna out of your mouth? I'm gonna say wintergreen.
Wintergreen, okay, yeah, wintergreen. If that's where you go,
you
want to get that out of your that flavor out of your mouth. You want to win the game. Who would be the best? Let's just go with 11, the starting 11. Just not make it too complicated. What would that look like? I'm curious. Like right now, available.
I mean, you're not. Then you're thinking about how do you make a cohesive team 11?
Yeah,
you know, and I have no idea. These kids are no matter who you pick. Half of them have never played together before.
Well, so
you're bringing in Roldan then. Honestly, and this is what people don't want to hear. You're bringing in Roldan, you're bringing in Morris, you're bringing in Long, you're bringing in Zimmerman, you're bringing all the guys that people don't like. You know,
well,
why are we bringing these guys?
Forget whether or
that's
not people
going to give you the most
them.
cohesive team to win against Serbia.
Forget about whether people like them.
You're still bringing Brandon Vasquez.
Yes, I think you are.
I think you're still bringing Zendejas.
Well, let's let Burnman throw some names at us right here. Sean Johnson, Daniel Lovitz. Ugh. Aaron Long, Walker Zimmerman, DeAndre Yedlin for short, Helen Acosta, who was there, Roldan, Leggett, I'm not sure about Leggett, but he could be on the line, Areola, Zardes, and Morris. And
how does everybody feel about that?
Vasquez would be in there. Based on his goal-scoring record in MLS, he's at a point where you would call him up maybe over Morris, over Zardes, rather. I have to go through the mental roller.
I would think the Levis position is interesting. I think you could still potentially have Jogo and even Tolkien before you go to Levis.
Yes, I think you could maybe not Jogo. I don't think he showed that he was ready at that level. But
we didn't know that before this game.
What?
Like you would have called him up. We have a little bit of hindsight 2020
But for me, the deciding factor is that he's not a senior level player at his club right now.
And Berman's saying it was a joke lineup. I don't disagree. I don't think it is. I think, honestly, when you think about who's available, who is not playing and who can come into a team, you're not too far off if you want to win against Serbia. That team can execute Berhalter's system and potentially win against Serbia with Brandon Vasquez in it as well.
Yeah, I'm just going through. It's mostly MLS, right? Because that's who's available.
Is there any player that played last night that isn't in that list that you would have started Williamson. Other than Brandon Vasquez?
I thought he was going to start Eric Williamson, and then he didn't. So Eric Williamson would be in that.
I think Zendejas could have potentially started.
Absolutely. But I
don't know if Sonora would have started because he was a little bit of a mystery at this level still. I think, and he was hot and cold anyway on the night. I don't think anyone was starting Cade Cowell. No one was starting Cade Cowell if he wanted to win that game and put the best 11 out there.
No, and he turned out to be one of the best players on the field. Absolutely.
Dude bossed it last night.
Absolutely.
He played as like a guy with that hair should play.
Yeah. that is a choice.
That dude is the bad dude in a high school 80s movie.
We've said it many, many times before.
Yeah.
I think this is a rollerblading movie. I think that's what this is.
Yeah, like Airborne or Prayer of the Roller Boys.
Something like that. But it's a California town because I want to set him in his proper environment. He's a California guy.
I just found out. I didn't know Aaron Long is from up in the desert right above me. He's almost IE. He's IE adjacent.
Where did he go? He went to
something. I can't remember what it is.
He went to one of the Cals. He went to one of the Cals out there.
Yeah, he did. I didn't know he was from the desert though.
From
desert folk, man. Desert folk. No teeth.
It hardens you. It turns you into a man.
No teeth and trailers. A lot of trailers.
Absolutely.
There.
All right. So look again, as you said, just sort of a fun exercise, low stakes.
But that's not what I want. I wanted what happened last night. I wanted it to happen like that. Crapshoot. See who's up because last night you got a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds, their first cap and their first experience, and look back 4 years and see how that worked out with us. That worked out really well for us, starting to bleed the youth early in a cycle. Now, how many of these guys are actually going to participate? I don't know.
I actually looked this up because I was curious. I looked up the 2000, so it would have been the 2018 January camp roster.
Yeah, they still brought a lot of guys from that other
interim head coach Dave Sarakin. Remember this, right? Failed to qualify, lost to Trinidad and Tobago.
I think Weston McKennie may have been one of the only guys on that team.
No, you're very wrong about that. I'll go through the names, all right? You tell me, obviously I'll stop if I mention somebody who actually turned out to be anything for the national team. Here we are 5 years later, right? 5 years on from 2018.
Was that a January camp that you said?
Yes.
I'm sorry. That's why I shouldn't have said McKennie. I apologize.
30 names on this list. 2018 January camp under Dave Sarakin. And although that was a World Cup year, it was the beginning of the new cycle for the United States because they had already failed to qualify. Alex Bono, Bill Hamid, Cody Cropper, and Zach Steffen were the goalkeepers. All right? So only one of those did anything with the national team after that, and it was Zach Steffen. Didn't go to the World Cup. Defenders, Danny Acosta.
Who?
I don't know. I don't. Justin Glad, Nick Lima, Justin Morrow, Iko Para, Tim Parker, Matt Polster, Brandon Vincent, Walker Zimmerman.
Walker Zimmerman, Iko Para are the only ones at national team level.
And Iko Para could have maybe been something more. Injuries sidelined him. He was
Iko
a late
Para
bloomer
should definitely be in that camp. Yeah.
In that regard. Don't know who Danny Acosta is. Justin Glad's a nice MLS defender. Nothing more. Nick Lima had some caps. He's got some national team caps, but nothing. Nothing like high level.
Nick Lima.
Brandon Vincent retired. Let's see. Iko Para retired for injuries.
You got to read their bios.
Tyler Adams.
Cool.
Paul Areola. Okay.
Yep.
Russell Knaus. By the way, at that point, Paul Areola already had 15 caps for the national team in 2018. Russell Knaus, Marky Delgado, Marlon Hairston, Ian Harks, Brooks Lennon, Christian Roldan, Kellen Rowe, Will Trapp, Giassi Zardes. Listed as a midfielder for some reason in 2018.
Marky Delgado getting some play back then.
Yeah, and he was listed as Marky. So how many of those guys did anything? with the national team.
Not
Jossie,
many.
who
Kellen
already had
Acosta.
37 caps in that camp. Kellen Acosta, did I mention him? He wasn't there.
Oh, I thought you said Kellen Acosta.
No,
Sorry.
Kellen Rowe. Kellen
Kellen
Rowe
Rowe,
was
excuse
in
me.
that team. Tyler's the only one, right? And he was a
Yeah.
young introduction. He had one cap at that point.
And Paul Arriola.
And Paul Arriola, who had 15 caps and went on. Now he's got something like 50. Juan Agudelo, Dom Dwyer, Jordan Morris, Christian Ramirez, Rubio Rabin, and CJ Sapong were the forwards.
Okay, so what you're saying is that there's probably 4 guys in this roster last night that are potentially going to,
And that would
So
be
pick your 4.
on the high end.
based off what
That
you
would-
saw last night. Based off
Oh,
what you saw
man.
last night, who are your 4?
Okay.
Because even though I like Jalen Neal, I
okay.
don't know if he's going to be able to advance
no.
that quickly.
Here's the
to
thing.
Being a player.
Here's the thing. I think the even though I said the high end is 4, I actually think there's more potential in this team because of how young it was, right? And because so many of these guys are just like a lot of those
Yeah, but
players
so
in 2018.
so many of the starters in this right now are going to be locked in for they're so young. They're
That's
all
true.
going to be available.
No, that's true. A lot of these guys are going to be blocked off, right? That's going to be an issue. Let's see. I think
Pick 4.
so. Man, I can't go off of one performance.
You want me?
Kate?
I'm telling you, be irresponsible. Stop trying to be
I'm
smart.
Talking
Be irresponsible.
I'm thinking here. I'm
I'll do
going
it
through-
then. God dang it! I got the stones. I'll do it.
No, it's not that I don't have the stones. I have to think about it.
Hey, do me a
little
favor.
bit.
While I'm talking right now, go upstairs, get your stones from your wife, and come back down, and then we'll talk about it.
that is-
Okay?
What is wrong with you? What's this old school comedy bit you're doing over here?
They're in a jar by the bed. You'll find them.
Your wife has your
All right.
balls in a jar.
I'm going to go with Brandon Vasquez has a potential role to play because you
Okay.
saw last night. There's just not a lot of true old school.
No, we don't have any
nines.
number 9s. We don't have a clear
I mean,
number 9.
DK
He's the
potentially
number
could be like that. He's rounding into form with West Brom, but we've seen how many injuries he's had, so it's hard to say.
9. Right.
I would say Brandon Vasquez would be one of my 4.
Okay.
I would say I think Zendejas is pure speed. Should he choose the U.S.,
okay.
his pure speed has value in terms
kinda
of what
feel
you
like-
Let me tell you why I would say that. Why, especially if Berhalter or Berhalter gets rehired, I think Zendejas has a role in this team for sure. Think of why Tim Weah got the job.
Okay.
And what he
Okay.
wanted from verticality.
This is not necessarily a
And forward
disqualifying
pressing.
factor. Not a disqualifying factor, but I do want to point out that Alejandro Zendejas will be 25 in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm just saying he's not a player that's going to be 21 years old, 23 years old at the World Cup. Like he's not part of this. He's not part of the new wave of young players.
And
He's
also,
kind
don't
of a late
forget, a lot
bloomer.
of the players you mentioned, the Jordan Morses, the Pariolas, and stuff like that, we said Pariola, he didn't go to the World Cup, but we considered
No.
him as a major factor of the window.
Okay,
Jordan
fair.
Morris didn't start
Fair.
any games, and they're
But
at
they-
that age that he would be at that point.
Okay. Will Alejandro Zendejas play in a Gold Cup between now and 2026? Probably. Yes. Go ahead.
Cade Cowell, I think he has a chance.
Cade Cowell, okay.
I've never seen that kid. I think he is poised for potentially a breakout year this year. Like I
Okay.
think it finally looks like, and this is a lot to say off one game and everything like that, but this is a kid that physically had the tools for the last 2 years,
Yes.
but it looks like he's finally figuring out how to use them, time them, when to use them, when to not, and have a little bit more educated style of play.
Yeah. The run onto the pass, that was a Zendejas pass, right? The run onto the pass with the shot that he put wide. I mean, that was what you want to see from Cade Cowell, right? To use his speed, his aggressiveness, his
Yeah.
directness, and his ability, his
Choosing
physical
the
ability.
times, I think he has a chance to. I mean, granted, that side of the field, that position, it's a deep position. You got the Pulisic's, you got the Aaronsons. I mean, even Gio Reyna if you needed to in that side of the
Yeah.
field, that position.
He's
gonna
only
be
19.
He's only 19.
We should point that out. Only 19. Only 19.
But
By the way,
I thought he really showed well last night.
according to Wikipedia, his first youth club was called Ballistic United. It's just
Hell
a great
yeah.
name. That's a great
Hell
name.
yeah.
It's a great name. What do you play for? Ballistic United.
Yeah,
Play
they
for
played against
Ballistic
Cobra Kai.
All right, was that 3? You got one more?
That was 3.
You got-
One more, yeah. I am going to go with. Oh, I
You be
mean,
a homer?
it's easy. This is an easy one. No,
You be a
no,
homer?
I'm not.
Okay.
You're going to say it's a cop out, but Gaga. I mean,
Okay, no, I don't think that's a cop out. That's fair.
That-
He's the youngest goalkeeper to ever start for the U.S. men's national team. I don't know that guarantees him anything.
it's hard
but
to say Jalen Neal, even though he's got a soft spot in my heart. Everyone at LA Galaxy loves this kid. I mean, you see why. He had a couple mistakes on the night mentally, but his line breaking passes from center back were fantastic. He really looked comfortable on the ball. But it's hard to say that for a guy that doesn't even have his first MLS start yet. It makes you wonder why Greg Vanny hasn't given him more chance when you see all the problems that are a center back over the last year. But he's 19. I mean, he we'll see. Center back's not like other positions where you tend to break in early.
No, that's a fair thing. You kind of need to mature into your body. You need to mature into your experience. Reading the game is everything.
But you just saw 3 players that were probably going to be the whole left side of your defense in the U20 level at the World Cup. And Gaga Solina, Jalen Neal, and Jogo out on the left side. I mean, if they're getting full national team minutes in preparation of that, and it's a smart thing to do from a system standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We obviously spent a lot of time talking about U.S. soccer drama and Ernie being out and Brian McBride being out and what's next and who the head coach is and all that stuff. Last night's game was obviously we can look at it. Let's do this before we get to Weston and the rumors about his move and where things look to be right now. The game against Colombia on Saturday. If you're already listening to this after Saturday, just ignore this part. But what do you want to see? Because I do expect rotation. I mean, basically a whole new team is going to play, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think Paxton Aaronson's probably going to get his shot.
Yes.
I don't expect. I think Paxton Pomykal is a tough guy to gauge. I think he had moments where he looked like, oh, that's Paxton. That's why you have him in there. But also, it was a time. What's up?
We're going to go with 2 packs, right?
Yeah, 2 packs. I think. The hard part was I thought Sonora was the best midfielder of the 3, and I think some people are going to disagree with that. But Aiden Morris and Paxton Pomykal played way too much of a frenetic style to get any rhythm in the midfield. All they wanted to do was push every time they had the ball. And Sonora just does not look like that player. You could see in the calm tempoed moments.
They have no pausa. That's what you need.
In the calm tempoed moments, you saw Sonora in the right place, right time, trying to distribute, move the ball around in small spaces. And I think that's what he wants to play. And those 2 midfielders were not the right 2 midfielders for him.
So with that in mind, you're still
I'd like to
putting
see
Paxton...
Sonora get another run. I think that's one of the reasons he maybe got subbed out earlier in the game.
Can we get it? Can we get Eric Williamson from the start though?
I think if I'm going to pick a 3, I'm going to say Williamson, Paxton Aronson, and Sonora. I'd like to see what those 3 midfielders do together for a good 60 minutes or so, because I don't think you saw the best of Sonora because of the way the other 2 midfielders. I'm going to say this: Adrian Morris at times looked good. He looks like the best version of Jackson Ewell, which is unfortunate for him. It's not. I don't mean that as a slight towards him,
right?
Because the best version of Jackson Ewell was almost good enough for the national team.
Okay,
and
that's the midfield. At the back, I mean, Jalen Neal gets the opportunity. Do you think he gets enough? I think
he does.
Okay, they're very high. This particular staff is very high on him, so he may get another run. I would like to see DeJuan Jones from the start.
Oh, for sure. DJ Jazzy Jones made some stuff happen. Did you see how much more effective Zendejas was once Jones got on the field? And I apologize. I love me some Julian Gressel. He was not at the right level in that game. The one great ball to Vasquez was fantastic, but every other minute he was on the field, I don't think he was at the right level. Maybe it's nerves. Maybe there's a lot of pressure. I don't know what it is. I think he's looked better than that in MLS. I would like to see him get another chance, but I just don't think that in that game, because he couldn't find a rhythm going forward and a way to establish any kind of creativity and partnership with Zendejas suffered. And you saw the difference when DJ Jazzy Jones got in there, and all of a sudden he's got overlapping runs. All of a sudden that Zendejas has more area to move because he has people pulling defenders away from him, and he's pivoting like a ballerina around guys in the midfield. I want to see that from the start.
Okay. I think, Tolkien didn't play against Serbia. I think he's probably going to get a shot.
Yeah, I think
in this game.
I don't think Zimmerman plays. It's weird that they took him off at halftime, and he was stretching out weird at halftime. I think you don't try it. You don't. I don't. Think you
obviously
press
there's no Zendejas for the second game. You could give Cade. I think probably we're going to see Cade Cowell on the bench to start. I don't know that there's anybody else I really care to see all that much. Areola, I like him, but whatever.
I think Areola
starts.
For him. I think Areola starts. I think Cade Cowell goes again on the left and Brandon Vasquez in the middle. I think Matthew Hoppe was just a bystander in this game. There were times where he was so deep, I could understand. Shallow, excuse me. Like, he was so close to the midfielders, and I couldn't figure out why he was checking in, because the entire defense comes up with him and shortens the field. Very different than when you saw Brendan Vasquez the first half,
not pushing the back line, trying to create space between. Yeah, absolutely. That is a thing. All right, let's move on to the news about Weston McKennie. According to Fabrizio Romano and others, he is this close, Jared. He is this close to joining Leeds United. I've heard, Arsenal may still want him on some level. Who knows if they'll swoop in? I love a good swoop in a transfer.
This could be answered by tomorrow morning when you're listening to this.
It probably going to be answered by tomorrow morning. So let's just get in our time machine and go to tomorrow. Oh, Weston McKennie, he's a Leeds United player. Jared, how do you feel about this?
Conflicted.
Yes.
Conflicted because, man, you just don't want Americans to go down with the ship. You don't want Americans to be the reason why English Premier League points and says we got relegated and it's your fault.
Right.
We spent $80 million on 3 Americans.
Yes.
And
right.
And this is your fault. That's a tough thing. That being said, I love the fact that Weston McKennie, Brandon Anderson, Tyler Adams are going to be playing together week in, week out. That can only benefit the national team. But I have a hard time seeing where Weston McKennie plays into the current formation
that's the thing
that Jesse Marsch is playing. Unless he moves to a 4-3-3.
I'm missing something. Maybe I'm reading the wrong pieces. I'm sure there's some Leeds fanatic blogger out there who can tell me how this works. Unless
right now, Leeds is kind of 4-2-3-1, and I don't see how McKennie fits in that.
Unless Mark Rocca comes off the field, and
you got
you could do that.
Double pivot.
You could do that, but that's not where Weston McKennie is best utilized, right?
And Mark Rucka has his failures, but you can say this. One of the reasons Tyler Adams, who's probably been one of their best players in the season, one of the reasons he's been good is because he has Mark Rucka next to him. And Weston McKennie, for everything he's going to do, he's not going to be as stay-at-home to help as Mark Rucka is with Tyler Adams. No. So if Jesse Marsch wants to move to a 4-3-3, I get it. Weston McKennie totally makes sense.
The other way...
but then you're potentially sacrificing Brandon Aronson.
Well, the other way to do it is a kind of a 4-1-4-1, but that puts a lot... That puts Tyler in that situation where...
That's so much work for him. That's so much work for him. And Leeds is already bleeding goals. Can you really afford to pull another rock out of the center of the midfield?
There's an argument about in possession and out of possession, right? But obviously part of Leeds' problem is to get caught up field and then they leave gaps, and that's where they get hammered. So if you don't have a stay-at-home double pivot and you're pushing Weston McKennie up higher, then does he track back? Do you get another body in midfield to slow things down?
Yeah, because this is the thing. If they go to a 4-3-3, it's great for Weston McKennie, but I think it's tragic for Brendan Aronson. Because if you go to a 4-3-3, Nanto's not coming out.
No.
Dude's on fire. They just spent $30 million on Rudder. I don't see Rodrigo. I think Rodrigo's best as a wide forward. They've been playing him in the middle. I think his best position.
They don't have
anybody.
anybody else they can trust in the middle. They don't have a goal scorer in the middle, and it makes you wonder
why.
That's
why they went and got Rudder. They're hoping that he's going to be that player.
Well, so Rudder's going to come in and be that guy. Rodrigo's not coming off the field based on his production, right?
I don't think so. And then that's not even talking about Somerville, who's also been great for them, and Sinisterra. Like Brandon Aronson, if he's not a midfielder in a 4-3-3 and Weston McKennie takes that spot, I don't know where Brandon Aronson's position is here.
But I think both Aronson and Harrison...
Yeah, Harrison's way down the pecking order, I think.
Are going to be far down the pecking... or falling down the pecking order if you go to... Look, it may help Leeds. Like, ultimately, it may help Leeds.
By the way, I'm not sure if it's Rudder or Rudder, because I think there's an umlaut, but I'm not sure if it's...
Is it? You better get this right, man, or the Germans
I don't know, dude.
Us.
Look, listen, my last name's French. I don't know these things.
Okay, but he's French too, right? So you should get it right. He's French. He's not German.
It's not German?
No, it's Jorginho.
Oh, he came from Hoffenheim, I think, or something. I just assumed he was German.
He came from Hoffenheim, but he is from France. He is from France.
We don't do umlauts in France. What's this guy doing?
They don't do umlauts in France. There's no umlaut. You're making an umlaut exist where there's no umlaut.
Oh, I thought there was an umlaut. My bad.
It could be roté.
Look at the JTT right here. Put an umlaut over it.
It's not an there's at least this what I'm looking at shows no umlaut. All I'm seeing is no. And again,
American
he's French.
Media doesn't know how to use umlauts.
You can be I suppose you can be
German. If it's
German
French, I would be like Ruter.
It might be Ruter. It might need to be Ruter. Jorginho Ruter.
You got Italian and German in one name? Wow.
I mean, that's the way we do it these days. My kid's name is definitely not,
But so for Weston McKennie, part of me actually wants him to go to Arsenal. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of want him to go to Arsenal.
Is his playing time more or less at Arsenal, though?
Oh, it's less. It's less. Yeah. But I feel that for him, having to compete for a spot again, Allegri, there's no secret. Pirlo, Allegri both love Weston McKennie. He was always going to have a spot in that team. I want him to go someplace where he has to fight a little more for it. Someplace where it's not going to come easy. Where a team that can buy another player if he doesn't perform. Because I think Weston McKennie, when you think about the early games at Juventus, those early games where he was playing that defensive midfield role or the more of an 8 role, he was tenacious. He was in every passing lane. He was chasing everything down. His role there's changed from a number 8 to a wide forward to a false 9 to a wing back. Like, he's played it all. I almost don't even know what Weston McKennie is anymore. Yeah, I'm interested. That does give Jesse Marsh a lot of options. But I would like to see him move back to a natural 8 kind of position.
I read one of the Juve blogs had just a scathing piece on Weston McKennie. Leeds United want him. Let's get him out of here. Put him on the first plane out of Turin.
JTT, ever the journalist JTT retraction. I take it back. There was no umlaut. Print it in tomorrow's Inquirer.
And now there's a whole discussion about the geopolitics of Western Germany, or Western France and Eastern Germany. No, the other way around. Western Germany and Eastern France. Oh, sorry.
My wife just made me watch that Women at War show on Netflix.
Oh, is it good?
Les Combattants in France.
Uh-huh.
It's good. I think at times it's a little too dramatized and like a little over the top. Man. But I found it interesting and fun to watch.
Tell me if my wife and I were watching Netflix, she was watching Emily in Paris and I was in the room. Let's just say that.
That happens in my house a lot.
It's all the time.
That's what happened with Les Combattants.
It's nonstop. And we saw the trailer, the little ad thing they present you for that show, Women at War, whatever. And it shows a woman trying to drive past a military checkpoint or something, and she hands papers to the guy, and he says something in French, and then I don't remember what the translation was, and my wife was like, "What does that mean?" And I said, "Oh, I think he's saying she's a whore." Is that what's happening in that show?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Just want to make sure I understand what's happening in that show.
The show starts in like a Toulouse-Lautrec painting of like broads and like one-eyed whores in the bars of Paris, Parisian France, in like the early 1900s. Everyone's got like bowler hats and stuff like that.
It's intense. Okay.
Yeah, there's people missing eyeballs. There's whores. There's none abortions. It's got everything you want in a show.
This is completely unrelated. Although I think that if you didn't know his name, you would not guess it by the way he looks. But I've been watching Kaleidoscope. You know about Kaleidoscope, right?
Finished it, yeah.
Giancarlo Esposito in the lead role, right?
Yeah, and he had to do some work on that show. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
It's not great, okay?
Sometimes
it's not
it's good.
great. It's like a C+, okay? I did not know until today that the algorithm delivers the episodes in a different order for everybody who watches.
You didn't know that? That's the whole thing about the show.
Had no idea. Didn't know.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a cool byproduct.
You like that gimmick?
I did. I liked my order, kind of. I don't know.
You liked your order.
In the bonus, we can talk about what our order was.
Wow.
And I also have a good book recommendation for you.
Oh, we're doing bonus. Okay, Jared just committed us to bonus.
If we do.
If you want to listen to the bonus show, you got to go get to the Patreon, patreon.com/thebestsoccershow.
Morgan, you don't have to stay on for if you don't want to.
We have an incredible community of people who get together and basically talk about soccer and life and share recipes. Are they sharing recipes? I don't think that's actually, maybe that's not a thing.
Arguing about Berhalter is what happens most of the time. And Ernie Stewart.
It's a lot of arguing.
Respectful arguing.
I mean, shout out to my man Steve Storr, who is very strong in his convictions about Gio Reyna.
He's an attorney. He has to argue.
I respect the hell out of it. I'm just watching.
The official Best Soccer Show attorney, by the way, on retainer.
That's right.
That's for a case of beer.
Have we? Oh, the beer is payment. Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Uncle Steve.
Is there any other business that we should get to, or is that's a chock full show? Right.
That's everything, guys. I know there's probably something that got missed out there, but yeah.
Well, then do this. Leave a comment. Write a review.
We didn't talk about Gio Reyna's freaking wonder goal, for God's sakes.
I mean, we didn't even talk about the celebration or any of that.
I know, like that's kind of what we do.
Okay, well, 5 minutes on Giovanni Reyna thumbing his nose at I don't know who or silence.
Oh, you know who?
No. Silencing the haters is the way this is being portrayed. Is that what he did? He silenced the haters.
I think that's what he thinks he's doing.
Who was like Giovanni Reyna can't score goals and he's trash?
No. What he's doing is saying like, "Hey, all y'all, shut the fuck up." Like that's what
he's saying.
Like,
that?
Oh yeah. He's saying
to who?
He's saying that I'm not listening to any of you guys are saying about what's happening outside the game. I'm all about this. And I respect that.
Except by doing the celebration, he's acknowledging that he's aware of all the talking that people are doing.
He's aware
that
they're trying to get to him.
This whole thing has a problem.
You haven't had enough haters in your life, Jason. You would think as a guy with a radio show, you'd have more haters.
Oh, are you serious?
So you're telling me... Wait, you do... Okay. You have to have a way to compartmentalize this.
Jared,
I can imagine what he's going through right now.
As somebody who is... I don't care. I think it was fine. Celebrate the way you want to celebrate. Goals come few and far between if you're most people to not celebrate him however you want to celebrate him. And I don't care. I'm not one of the people saying...
You missed the fundamental part of your job with that goal.
He's a petulant jerk, and he should be punished for whatever. No.
The dude had his punishment.
He got punished. He did his penance. His parents acted out. That's not his fault, right?
Yep, don't blame him.
I'm not on board with punishing Gio Reyna.
As far as I'm concerned, his slate is clean. His slate is clean. Now, is it going to follow him? Yeah, it's going to follow him because his parents are never not going to be his parents.
Look, and of course, the last one he did, the fingers in the ear, as being pointed out in the chat, is a thing that Memphis Depay does when he scores goals. And famously, Greg Berhalter said about the U.S. men's national team after they lost to the Dutch, we don't have a player like... Was it after they lost that he said it?
Yeah,
we don't have a Memphis Depay level Champions League player scoring goals. So, look, again, I don't mind for the story, for the yucks, for the LOLs. Yeah, absolutely. Do whatever you want to do with your fingers in your ears.
I don't think those things are linked at all.
He's not on Memphis Depay's level. He's not. He can think.
I don't think he was trying to do that with the celebration anyway. That's like saying everyone that goes like with their arm in a circle is like an Arsenio Hall fan. Okay, like.
That's what you referenced. Arsenio
I don't know,
Hall.
like what? Just because someone makes a common gesture, like the monkeys that do hear no evil, see no evil, they're copying Memphis Depay too.
Memphis Depay does something that also represents the universal symbol for "I'm not listening." Right. So yes, maybe it was Memphis Depay, and he was connecting it back to what Berhalter said, or maybe he was just saying "I'm not listening." It could have been that too, right?
Sure.
Has Giovanni Reyna gone on his Instagram account?
Yeah,
has he got on his Instagram account
he posted that picture.
To clear this up, though, to say I did Memphis's celebration as a reference to Greg Berhalter, so we can't know.
No, because listen, he's also a 20-year-old kid. It's better if he does it. Who doesn't want that kind of like hype?
No, I absolutely.
That's like because this is the equivalent of a goal scorer accidentally passing a ball into a goal. They're going to claim they were shooting. Like I don't think he knew. I don't think he even knew Memphis Depay does that celebration. I don't think he was thinking about it at all. But you're going to give me that level of credit for what I did? Hell yeah, I'm going to take it.
Yeah. I don't even know if this is the correct one, but it has been requested. This is for Mr. Giovanni Reyna.
Oh, baby!
And I got to go find the good one, but there it is. An oh baby.
That is
for Giovanni Reyna. And then he scored again, another winner against, I think, Mainz. The first one was against Augsburg. The second one against Mainz. That one was more like, I'm just in the right place at the right time. And he kind of did a thing. Like, first he just had his arm up and his teammates came and mobbed him. And then he kind of did this thing that was almost, I couldn't see it. The video didn't really show it. He kind of did another, like...
He was listening or not listening? His ears like you're trying to make me hear you. I don't hear you. I think that's the kind of way that was. Like, oh, you're talking. I don't hear you.
This is actually pretty good. He was saying triple stamp it and ignoring people saying you can't triple stamp a double stamp.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp. You can't triple stamp.
Oh, for the people out there that don't know what we're talking about, you have homework.
Well, you referenced Arsenio Hall, so
do your homework. The guy's amazing in Coming to America.
Oh man, yeah. That's
everyone's a fan of the Irvin Magic Johnson show, but no one's a fan of the Arsenio Hall show.
I don't know what that means.
He had a talk show as well.
He did have a talk show.
It was horrible.
But that's also a very old reference. Chevy Chase also had a talk. All right, we're going to get out of here before we make more old man references. Best Soccer Show on Patreon. Follow Bestie Soccer on Twitter so Morgan can be happy. We're all over the place, and we'll talk to you guys next Thursday night. Bye.
Is it O'Donnell?
Get to the chopper!
Jason Davis?
Oh, baby!
Danger zone!
Damn, dog, that's inappropriate.
Go to DEF CON 2.
The Sausage King of Chicago.
Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
The horror show! What are we doing? What are we doing? WNBC. WNBC. Oh, it's incredible! Oh, it's incredible!
Ready?